Hello, and welcome to Preparation Avengers, a weekly podcast with up-to-date impressions on every film in the MCU leading up to Infinity War on May 4th. I'm your moderator, Thomas Rogers, and joining me this week is Danny DKP Kilpatrick.
Indeed.
Joining us for the first time, Taylor Bunami Hastings.
Sup?
And rounding out our panel from Los Angeles, California, is Alex Idafy Hernandez.
I want my bird.
Remember, you can watch the show live every Saturday at 8:45 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/Chainsaw Ape, or if you want to, you can wait until Sunday to catch it on youtube.com/Chainsaw Ape. Although the show broadcasts live on Twitch, we do not read the chat comments, unless, of course, you offer corrections. We aren't Marvel experts, or at least we don't claim to be, except for Taylor here. And we're definitely going to screw something up, so please let us know in the chat, and we'll give you credit for setting us straight.
Look, I'm here to do two things. Fuck up facts, get my tube played with.
Ooh.
I intend to do both of those things tonight.
That's exciting.
I'm not playing with you.
Taylor, welcome to the show. This is your first time joining us.
Yeah.
If you noticed, if you've listened to the first two episodes, Paul Burns is out. He's got a little bit of that flu thing going on right now. So
He forgot to take his prep, and it's hitting him hard.
oh no, he is in the chat though, so hopefully he'll be popping in every once in a while to set it straight on a couple of corrections.
Send you a prayer, Paul.
I send you a prayer. Thoughts and prayers. Heb. Okay, so we're going to start like we always start every episode, which is our brought to you by. This episode is brought to you by Audi, Crocs, Dr. Pepper, Vanity Fair Magazine, Elon Musk, Oracle, and Birds.
Is the birds thing a joke, or is that something I miss?
It's a joke. It's because of the whole Whiplash thing. Where
No,
it's like,
I get that, but I didn't know if there was some fucking, because I didn't notice any Crocs plugging in there either.
Well, there wasn't no one wore Crocs. There was a joke
Well,
that was made
nobody
in the
wore
film where
Crocs.
he's something about rocking socks and taking off your Crocs or something like that.
I
Can't remember the exact quote. So we're going to start this episode off a little bit differently. DKP, can you give us the plot? Can you break down this movie? What happens in this movie?
You bet I can. Okay.
Do it, baby. Do it.
Where do I fucking begin with this movie?
Why don't you start at the beginning?
All right, so yeah, at the beginning, it picks up right at the ass end of the last Iron Man film with our new antagonist watching television. You keep shaking your head. Stop it. This is what happened, according to me. And being like, oh man, that damn Tony Stark. Of course, someone's got to have some big grudge against him and hates seeing him on TV. So then he's like, I'm going to montage. By the way, this movie loves its fucking montages. He's like, I'm going to make arc reactor out of Russian know-nothing parts from old-ass plans, and it fucking works, and it does. And then
Tony made it in a cave out of a bunch of scraps.
now everyone can do it, because fucking why not? So that happens. There's this large, then it's all about the Stark Expo, which happens, either this movie takes place in the span of a year, or they have Stark Expo, a couple different times a year, all the time, just another Stark Expo, getting that whole thing set up.
They said, one thing I heard specifically was, this
Hey, I'm
expo
explaining the
is
plot
a year
here.
round.
I thought they said this was the first time that the expo happened since the 70s. Taylor, you're nodding your head. If you have something to say, just say it.
I want to let him finish his explanation, and then we can
Tear it all
course
apart.
corrections and all of that other stuff.
Yeah, so everyone's all like, hey, you got this Iron Man technology. I think I want to try me some of that Iron Man technology. But he's like, no, you're not going to have it. And then Billy Crystal shows up,
It's
really
not Billy
overweight.
Crystal.
Yes, it is. Senator Billy Crystal says, fuck you, as senators do. Let's
Gary
see what else
Shannon,
happens.
by the way.
Anton Vanko, the Russian guy we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
decided here's how I'm going to take out Iron Man. Instead of building the suit, which everyone seems to confuse as the same thing as Tony Stark's suit, he gets 2 electrical whips, and he's like, I'm just going to walk into a race course, and hopefully
Monaco.
he's there and just fuck him up real bad.
After, of course, Tony Stark's like, I'm going to be a race car driver now.
Yeah, predictably, since he's not wearing any sort of protection or armor or suit, once again, I found it to be pretty obvious that they were not the same thing, but everyone says it's the same thing for some reason. The more I talk about this movie, I guess the less I did like it. I thought that I actually surprisingly liked it.
And just so you know, Whiplash is actually Ivan Vanko. Anton was his father. Just throwing that out there.
Honestly,
Anton's all of
BKB,
our
your
fathers.
version of the movie sounds better.
All right. So Ivan Drago fucking gets whooped by Iron Man, right? And gets like put in prison that everyone is supposed to just like forget about him. But because everyone's like, he did the same thing Tony Stark did. I still don't understand, but minus the arc reactor. Because as far as I know, Senate wanted Iron Man suits, not the arc reactor technology. And this dude was like, hey, I've got whips. And they're like, he said it couldn't be done. It's just got done. But it didn't.
He
Right?
said it would take 20 years.
But I didn't see it happen. But apparently, he had a suit, but he just didn't wear it. All right. So then the competitor, who was actually kind of a sympathetic character to some degree, since Tony Stark was a complete dickhead to him, old Justin Hammer,
Played by
played
the
the great Billy Crystal,
Sam
Um,
Rockwell.
was like, oh man, I hate Tony Stark, so I'm gonna, instead of just like investing in better technology, I'm gonna break out this guy who learned to make whips that fucking cut shit in half.
Enjoy
right?
the
The
potato.
movie of Billy Crystals.
This
Yes.
is physically
So-
hurting me.
Is this
So
the
he
plot
broke
for?
Bill- he
Is this
broke-
the plot for Iron
he
Man
broke-
2 or City Slickers?
He
2?
broke Billy Crystal out of prison.
Hey, what are you? You're
then-
confusing yourself with your own explanation right now.
No,
He broke Billy
continue.
Crystal.
That's not what's happening. Let's see. There was a whole bunch of shit about like a bird. That was a big plot point. Pepper Potts got really pissed because Tony got drunk at a party, which I don't really understand either.
How do you stop somebody who's drunk at a party?
I don't know, man. It's pretty interesting way to look at it. But Don Cheadle appears, which is cool. I guess the old guy, the guy who played in the previous movie, Billy Crystal, he is like contractual stuff. Like he's no longer there.
Yeah.
So Don Cheadle comes in, becomes War Machine just out of nowhere, and they're like, "Hey, how do we go about enhancing this Iron Man suit? Let's put a gun on it,
A bunch of guns.
because that's cool."
Hey, new
It
machine,
wasn't.
new actor.
Yeah, same mediocre taste. Then yeah, Sam Rockwell is like, "Oh man, I fucked up by hiring this dude. He didn't really want to make suits at all. He just wants to make more whips." But then he ends up making a suit anyways that uses the whips.
Yeah.
That guy loses in like
Ironmonger
probably the
2.
shortest antagonist battle of all time.
Again, I thought you liked this movie.
I did. It's just when I'm trying to. It's stupid, but I liked it. But like explaining it, it's kind of fucking dumb. I'd say Taylor looks physically ill here. And lastly, the movie kind of wraps up just being like, "Hey, I am Iron Man." And that's it.
That was the first one. Just real quick, we have Morning Shark watching the show live, and he's our live fact checker. Thank you, Morning Shark. You're a gentleman and a scholar. He says, Wikipedia says it's the new Stark Expo.
How many times a year do they have it though?
So
Can he
Taylor-
check the Billy Crystal thing?
No, don't.
Taylor,
do that.
here's your chance. Get on your high horse
Well-
and tell us everything that he just screwed up.
okay, well, to start out, this isn't directly after the ending of Iron Man 1. This is
What are you talking about?
No, when the movie starts, it's showing
It's
the
Ivan
press
Drago
conference.
watching the press conference of the Iron
understood,
Man 1.
but there are months in between that point from after he watches the press conference.
I know, but
and
like I
then
said-
you cue in to Tony Stark jumping out of a military aircraft.
Look, man.
and
No,
AC-130
but still, the movie,
Yeah, isn't-
the movie still
Basically,
starts. The movie still starts right where the other one left off,
Like live television broadcast.
but then jumps ahead multiple
remember
months,
that's when I brought up
potentially
because this
years.
movie loves its montages. Boy, does
Yeah,
it.
yes.
All right.
And so
Any other brain
well,
busters?
a little bit more on the information why he was able to do it. Anton Vanko was Howard Stark's partner to a point, and they designed the
Arc reactor
arc
together.
reactor technology together. He defects to Russia for money, and well,
He
to
wants
a
to
point.
sell the
But yeah, he wants
technology
to sell
for
it.
It was
weapons.
Yeah.
espionage, wasn't it?
And so, yeah, and so he gets basically booted back to Russia and lives a shit life while Howard Stark is.
How do they rephrase it? 40 years of a vodka-filled rage.
Yes, and so Ivan, Anton's son, who is also a physicist, they pointed out.
He likes belts.
Oh,
Was-
and a supercomputer hacker, too.
Oh, don't. That we'll get to that. But basically, like the entire situation breaks down that Tony has announced himself to the world, and he is in possession of a quote unquote, super weapon. And the United States wants it, obviously. And they also don't want it in the hands of somebody who is not responsible or has to abide by anybody else.
I think this movie gets more relevant with time, to be honest. In the first one, it's like, look how much damage like Stark Industries has done to people. And this kind of like, it's more relevant now than ever because like the Ivan Drago guy was kind of like, #MeToo. You know what I mean? And like that seems to be semi his inspiration for making these electrical whips.
If you could hear eye rolls,
I could hear them.
I just realized that I forgot to go over our facts. I want to do the facts before
Hold on.
before the plot.
Taylor, because I think the rest of like you corrections are going to be like just shit we're going to bring up and just talk about as the general
when we
range of
actually get
plot.
to the review.
But,
I don't like Taylor's versions of events. It was missing a lot of Billy Crystal.
All right, so to go back to facts real quick. For starters, this movie was released May 7th, 2010. 2010, which was 1 year and 11 months after Incredible Hulk. We did not get there was a whole year that went by that we did not get a MCU film, which I think that's probably the only time that happens.
Well, around what time? Okay, this is after Disney acquired Marvel, right?
I don't know. Live fact checker, we need you. About what time did Disney acquire Marvel?
Exactly.
I'll say this. It says it was distributed by Paramount. So
Okay. So that's probably why there was a nice year off instead of the biannual or that sort of thing.
the constant barrage of incredible films.
What they were attempting to do with Star Wars, which is make
Yes.
you eventually sick of it.
It had a budget of $200 million, which is about a $50 million budget increase over the first Iron Man. Had a box office return of $623 million, which was about $150 million more than Iron Man brought home. It was directed by Jon Favreau. Again, he directed the first one and plays Happy. It was written by Justin Theroux, who I did not really know who Justin Theroux was outside of his acting roles, but he's the main character in The Leftovers, and he's really good. Morning Shark says August 31st, 2009 is when Disney acquired Marvel. So about 8 months beforehand, 9 months, almost a year. Justin Theroux wrote it, and he also wrote Tropic Thunder. So
No
kinda
shit.
makes some
I believe
sense.
he also had a part in Zoolander as well.
He wrote Zoolander. Zoolander 2. He's also in the new Star Wars movie. The guy that's wearing the pendant in The Last Jedi. When they're like, hey, when Maz Kanata's like, go find the guy with the pendant at the
Who's
casino
Maz
planet.
Kanata?
The chick
Maz
with the bug
Kanata's the
eyes,
girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
The girl with the big
Sure.
eyes, the old lady, basically.
He's also married to Jennifer Aniston.
He is married to Jennifer Aniston. And then the final note, of course, we already touched on it. John Cheadle replaced Terrence
Did you say
Howard,
John
aka
Cheadle?
Billy Crystal,
Old John Cheadle, man.
Don Cheadle.
I love that guy.
as James Rhodes. Okay, now let's get to our review segment. Who wants to start us off?
Taylor, how about you go?
Overall impressions.
Um,
Sorry, Idify, what'd you say?
I'm sorry, we just went over the facts real quick. I had one
Yep.
thing I wanted to add. Another
Please.
thing too, Senator Stern was named after Howard Stern. And then Elon Musk made a cameo appearance.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Well, actually, we kind of already touched on it on our brought to you by. But yes. Overall impressions for the movie. Taylor, since you're new, you want to start us off?
yeah, sure. So, I mean, at the time, and I was into it completely.
Like when you first
when
saw
it,
it?
well, yeah, when it first came out, I was so into that movie, and like over time and numerous rewatches, it just leaves kind of a bad taste in the mouth. Because there's a lot of pieces to it that just after you watch it numerous times, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense, or what?
That's too much.
Yeah.
There are a couple of scenes that's like, that's too much. You guys could have come up with a better way to tell this part of a story.
Yeah. So I mean, initially it was great, fun for the review. I'm just left wanting.
Okay. Idify, what about you? Overall impressions.
Same. At the beginning, when this first came out in theaters, I was really hyped for another Iron Man. Off the success of the first one, re-seeing it, it was just a disaster. I really did not like this movie at all.
Interesting.
What do you think, Tommy? I don't know.
So when I first saw this movie, I didn't really care for it. And then getting ready for Civil War last year, I watched them all, and I liked it a lot more. But this time, it was right in the middle. I thought the movie was really, like, I was really enjoying it. Even him, like, even Tony Stark being like, I'm going to be the race car driver. Like, all that totally worked for me, because that seems like his kind of personality. But the moment that the movie kind of took a turn for me was specifically the scene where Tony is really drunk at a party, and they're like, how are we going to stop this party and shut Tony down? And Don Cheadle's like,
Better
I have an
fuck
idea.
all of his shit up, fam.
I better go put on this other suit and then destroy this, like, $1 billion home by acting an idiot and getting into a drunken brawl while wearing Iron Man suits. And then from that moment on, the movie was, like, laughable to me.
Fair enough.
How about you?
I remember not liking this so much in theaters. And I think it might be due to the week I've had. It's just been a really stressful week. I didn't have it in me to criticize, like, to think, to, like, poke holes in it as it went.
Yeah.
I more just sat down and watched it.
But you enjoyed it.
It was not as fucking bad as I remember. And, like,
That's
every
good.
single one of these Marvel movies, with the exception of maybe Guardians, I have not seen since I saw it in theaters. I normally don't rewatch movies unless it's, like, I got a small group of movies that I rewatch all the fucking time. But, yeah, I like this movie. It's stupid as fuck.
It's good to hear.
I don't think I'd watch it
different opinion
again.
from the rest of us.
I'd probably never watch this movie again. I'm okay with that. But, like, for this go through, like, I was not miserable like I was with the Hulk. It felt, it's weird. The runtime was 2 hours, like, flat, right? And I think the first one was longer, but this one felt like it went on for fucking ever, though. Like, there were so many different time periods. Okay, like, at the very end, when they were fighting fucking Anton Vanko or whatever, I was thinking back to, like, when the bit with the race car happened, right? And Ivan Drago's, like, fucking everything up. And I was like, that seems like so long ago. Like, so much has transpired, but, like, none of it was particularly interesting.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it, though, still. There were a couple noticeable things that popped out to me. Marvel still, at that point, probably still not, has learned, like, that white people who enjoy rock and roll don't only listen to AC/DC. That carried over from the first film, which I thought was a good touch, a good nod to the first film, right? There were I think 4 different instances where it was like, too many women, too many men.
Avengers even carried that on.
So
for
yeah,
Tony
they
Stark's
still
character.
haven't learned it.
In my opinion, this movie has too many nods to the first movie.
Interesting.
Well,
I actually think I like this one more than the first movie, to be honest, which is fucking nuts.
I know a lot of people, Festus is like that. He hated the first Iron Man and loved the second one.
I can't say that. I don't hate either one of them, but somehow this one's a little bit better to me.
There's definitely specific reasons why I like it less. And I don't know where that exactly fits into your schedule here.
Well, the next kind of piece, we've all touched on our overall impressions. The next piece
If I was to whiteboard it out pros and cons, it wouldn't look like I like this one more.
Yeah.
But just somehow I don't know.
So yeah, we'll jump into, like, what are some of your favorite and some of your least favorite scenes? Idify, you want to start us off?
Yeah. Ivan Drago, kind of a very stupid character. Just him making his whips. Who the fuck uses whips? Whips are such
Lion
outdated-
tamers.
How are you gonna use whips over a guy that shoots fucking plasma out of his arm?
I'm pretty sure it was inspired by Omega Red,
That's
who is
you're
also from
probably right on
Russia.
that.
Like,
But I mean, you can't really poke holes in that.
Makes no
It's
sense
comic
at all.
book esque. Like the guy in the alleged villain in the next movie named himself after the little baby oranges. I mean, shit. Like people do stupid stuff, you know.
Mandarins are delicious.
Him and this whole bird scene, like, come on, okay, whatever.
There was no
I
payoff
think
to that,
Justin-
by the way.
There wasn't, and that's the
Like I
problem.
expected them to eventually get his bird, and like I didn't remember him having a bird from
I was
the montage
hoping,
we saw.
rewatching it, I was like, I forgot, does he kill the bird? And then he doesn't.
Dude, I will tell you this: a standout moment. I started laughing really hard when they just stuffed the bird in the bag, and I was like, if they take that bag and swing it around and mash it on a table,
No, that'd be
no,
terrible.
it definitely, it's clearly, it's not a real bird. But I was like, if they do that,
Oh my god.
I would have laughed I would have died, dude.
It
And
would've
just the
been
thought of that
awesome
made me laugh. But sorry, go
had
on.
the bird had an actual role, like he knew a piece of his dad's code that he needed. That's why he needed the stupid bird.
See,
shit.
That would not have worked for me. If they like tied the bird into the actual
The
plot,
bird is the key to all this.
that would have been laughably terrible for me.
Actually, I would have loved that because it would have given us a lot of shit to fucking riff on here, but unfortunately, no, that didn't happen.
Well, and to a point, the most legitimate piece of the movie is if he was able to get the plans as it shows him, and him, you know, making that little frame, because it's not a suit, it's a frame with whips attached that have, you know, current passing through them, and that's why it's like blah.
I wish people could see you do that jump rope
for
motion.
But
since we do not have a video version of this, Taylor is swinging his arms around like he has whips.
yeah, but I mean, to a point, like that fight and that interaction after he did it at the Monaco Grand Prix is the most legitimate segment of the movie, because Tony doesn't have his suit. This guy has a just like non-Iron Man-esque thing and basically catches Tony with his pants down, right? Like that's what that entire situation is. And I think that's the most legitimate interaction between those two characters, or really anybody, for this entire movie.
I'd find what else you got on
couldn't
favorite
have
and
created
least
a gun,
favorite scenes.
You needed a fucking whip.
That's what I kept thinking too. Like, there's no police officers at this event that are just gonna shoot his exposed body. Come on.
Another couple scenes that I didn't like. I really didn't like the world building this time. It just
What-
felt very shoehorned in. Everything with Jackson, with Shield.
Oh, you mean
Oh,
like
you
the
mean like the-
MCU
them setting up
universe
for the-
building
Yeah.
stuff?
Broader
It
picture.
just felt, and then like they even like show an element of Thor. I'm like, oh my god. Like I
Yeah,
don't
we'll be going
want
deeper
it
into
to
all
stay
that
They
stuff. in a
mention
bit.
it. Well, I mean, it still has done better than DC. So I mean,
No, that's true.
Well,
I
what
think-
else?
The only
I
good thing is Marvel's corrected that over the years. Now it's not as bad.
To be honest, I don't think they have. I think they've just like jumped deeper into it.
and they like cock tease us with shit they're not gonna do, like Howard the Duck. Come on, get out of here. Like, if you're gonna show that, you better deliver.
And
In
like
Guardians?
Samuel L.
He got-
Jackson's
he got more
character
time
was
in
so
Guardians, too.
pointless.
Hey, fuck you. I think Samuel L. Jackson, that was the highlight of the show for me.
He was the
was seeing
Deus
Sam
Ex
Jack.
Machina
Well-
of this movie.
I don't know if you're
Him
using that
coming out of
correctly
nowhere,
there.
giving Stark the film, and then he's able to create an element. Shut the fuck up.
All right, well then here, let me go back to this one. Don't fucking shit talk Sam Jack when I'm around, motherfucker. I'll show you one. Okay, get this shit. So, by the way, neat little not cameo, but the guy they used, old Roger Cooper.
Be more
Or,
specific.
I'm sorry, Roger Sterling from Mad Men plays Howard Stark.
Yeah.
Thought that was neat. But anyways, he's like, Tony, we need to build this whole arc reactor bit. The technology of my time. Taylor, just hold on. The details are wrong, but don't allow us to do this. It's just the technology's not there right now to build whatever it is that we want to build. You can do it. But meanwhile, so if the guy had the plans for the arc reactor and could make it in his fucking basement, they had the plans, which I'm sure, like, it's not like, hey, on these blueprints, it's drawn out that, like, once something is available that doesn't exist yet in these blueprints, then you can build this arc reactor and make power whips. He just had them the whole time, but never did anything? That make any sense to anybody? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Makes no sense.
the guy straight up had the blueprints.
For the full-size arc reactor that was in...
So, but how did he get the technology to make it small, though? Like, he didn't have those
Well,
blueprints.
no, he had proof that Tony did it. Like,
So, like, he was
The
inspired
fact-
enough just to do it?
yes.
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 All right,
Yes.
I guess.
To me, that makes sense.
Yeah, that
It's like,
I mean,
oh, okay, this is clearly an arc reactor.
his father was
based on those
directly involved
blueprints.
with the creation of the one that was at Stark Industries. So yes, him having that
Him
information, him having his father's knowledge, and him having his own knowledge of the current generation is definitely valid. Like that is the
my,
most.
My point was, like, if he could just do that beforehand, why didn't he? Why did it take, like, Tony Stark being like, oh, I made
Didn't
one,
he
and be like,
explain
Because-
it in the
because-
video, though, that he didn't have the tech at the time.
Because Ivan didn't know that you could
I like how
miniaturize.
you're calling
it.
him Ivan. Wait, no, his name is Ivan. Never mind.
Yeah. Like there was nothing to support that you could, in fact, make a miniaturized arc reactor until Tony Stark did it in the cave and then improved upon his design for the Iron Man suit,
But no one else has those designs.
other than Ivan Vanko.
He has the original ones.
Yeah,
though.
because his father somehow smuggled
get
those
that.
out. Yeah.
But if he had what it took just to build one, just being inspired, just being like, I could do it. Why didn't he do it before? It didn't make any sense to me.
Well,
I don't know if I'm explaining my problem right exactly,
so,
but
understood, like, yes, his Howard Stark basically got his father, fucking exiled from America. He was living impoverishedly, but he didn't have everything to be able to, because the arc reactor wasn't usable, like, to a point. It could power stuff, but it wasn't weaponizable at that point in
couldn't
time.
make whips with it just yet.
The whips, whatever. Like, take that out of the equation. Like, fucking. But it wasn't. Russia or any other country couldn't weaponize the arc reactor. So they didn't basically say, hey, we'll support your research and give you money. So, yeah, he just got fucked off in Russia or Siberia or wherever the fuck he was, raised his shithead son.
I'm not even talking about the Anton. I'm talking about.
No,
You guys are going on
yes.
way too long about this.
Yeah, it's really not that important. It's a perceived plot hole that I'll sync up with you after, and you can school me on it.
All right.
All right, Idify, do you have anything else that you don't like about this movie?
There's a ton.
Oh,
but
are we
I will
talking
let you
dislikes
guys
right
talk.
now?
What?
We talking dislikes
Both.
right now?
I'm specifically talking to Idify about what he dislikes.
Oh, okay.
That's what I've been trying to do. We're good. It's a conversational show, but I just
there
want to
are
make sure we
tons
get an
that I
opportunity for
dislike.
everybody to talk.
But I will let the rest of you guys hash out your dislikes as well.
How about favorite things? Were there any favorite things that stood out for you, Idify? Scenes or moments?
Honestly, minus the stupid DJ fight scene, I kind of did like Don Cheadle. I thought he brought a
John
seriousness
Cheadle.
to the character that needed to happen.
Were you? It was like split on the first episode when we were talking about Don Cheadle versus Terrence Howard, and me and someone else said they prefer Terrence Howard over
It
Don
was
Cheadle.
me.
Okay. Do you still feel that way now that you've gotten a little bit of taste of Don Cheadle in the role?
Well, I think it would have been a funner roadie had it been Terrence Howard, but the more seriousness and, like the Civil War roadie, yeah, I think we needed Don Cheadle's character for that.
I disagree, but that's okay. All right, cool. Taylor, what about you? What are your favorite scenes, least favorite scenes?
There's a lot of really good stuff. The introduction of Natasha Romanoff, when
My God.
booty boot camp scene with Happy when they're boxing and training, she comes in.
Booty boot camp.
Yeah, he's like, "What do you do? Some booty boot camps,
Oh,
Tybo?"
I see.
Like, yeah. And that entire interactions between Pepper, Tony, Happy, and Natasha, or whatever her name was undercover,
Yeah.
was really great.
Natalie
Like, it-
Rushmore. was
There we
what
go,
it was.
Natalie Rushmore. And it really displayed some organic pieces of those characters in a way that just really fit. They definitely stepped away from it, and it got worse and worse as the movie
The
went along.
three of them had great chemistry.
Yeah. I actually agree with that.
I actually thought it was leading up to a threesome at some point.
But any of the scenes, basically, Tony knows he's dying. The palladium cores that he's using in the arc reactor are poisoning him. He's gonna die. So, all of that was really good. Him taking the F1 car, all of the stuff with the Stark Expo, him just basically showing off in typical,
AC/DC.
yeah, and there was just a lot of good. Him having the conversation with Ivan's character, him basically going and, taking apart the creation of Ivan, basically saying, hey, you could increase your intervals by doing this. And
the scene where they're in the prison cell together?
Yeah.
Or it's not a prison cell, it's, what are those rooms called where you interview people?
Interrogation.
Interrogation room, thank you.
Yeah.
And the stuff with Pepper, trying to run the business. She was a secretary, now she's a CEO.
We'll get to the Pepper Potts bit,
yeah.
but my God, I got a lot to say about her in this one.
Yeah. And just the Justin Hammer pieces, right? Like this guy who's not Tony Stark, who has a weapons contracting company. The whole watching him try to fumble around after Tony quote unquote hacked their screens your screens. I need them. Give them to me. And he does that, and he's trying to unplug it, turn it off.
Where he like gets up in the mic and he's like, he survived, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, the interactions with Senator Stern, just
I thought those were funny.
It was like, you know, you want my shit, you can't have it.
This might have been like one of the strongest endings of any Marvel movie, where it was like, I have to get someone to give us the award, and it was Billy Crystal giving the award. That was fucking. I forgot all about that.
Whenever he pokes him, and he's talking about a little prick or whatever.
No, specifically when he's like, and of course, Mr. Stark, who is a national treasure. I really enjoyed that scene. Yeah.
And so there was a lot of just really positive, really fun moments in the movie. So I guess I'll move on to what scenes that I didn't like. There was quite a few. After Ivan gets quote unquote rescued by Justin Hammer from the jail, he's
that mashed potato bomb.
Well, yeah, in the whole "I want my bird," like. You know, I can't do his fucking stupid accent.
I want my bird.
Yeah.
My bird, I want it.
I
think you got it best, DKP.
That was dumb. When he gets to Hammer Tech in America, he goes and just, looks at the drones, breaks the head on one, blah, 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 and then starts just tippy-tapping on the fucking keyboard.
Just real quick, just in case I don't forget it. The scene where Justin Hammer is where he takes the head and he's trying to get that the scientist that works with him to put it on. He's like, try to put it on. Can you wear it? He's like trying to get him to put it on his head. I thought that was hilarious.
This is a head, not a helmet. Like, but yeah,
I'm gonna jump in with you on that part when he gets to Hammer Industries, and he like this is some schmo. He had like plans. He's like some engineer, physicist maybe or something.
Yeah.
But also like everyone in this movie is a fucking computer hacker, which annoys the shit out of me. And like some of the terminology that they use also, it's just really annoys me. He's like, we're gonna have to get you an encrypted password,
passcode,
or passkey.
Can we get him some?
And he's like, guys, can we get some encrypted passkeys here? I don't know how many times I can say encrypted passkeys. That annoyed the shit out of me.
It was that entire scene, and then he just goes
software.
Software sheet. Like
I hack into everything.
Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, man,
Come
cool.
on.
You just typed a couple lines and just invalidated RSA encryption.
And it's
cool.
like he just blew right through the firewall. Huh?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Even though it's on the inside of the network.
I mean, you don't have to get that granular.
I'm just saying, like for me, that just totally takes it away because they tried to be like, oh yeah, this is super techie, and it's like, no. That's just factually incorrect what you're trying to do there. And it bothers me. But there was that piece. And the real issue is after all the drone scenes, after all the fighting, when Tony goes back and interrupts the Hammer Tech presentation at the Stark Expo.
Yeah.
So there is no real defined timeline for how long these events went from when Ivan got rescued by Justin Hammer or anything, but I just can't find it in me to believe that he was somehow able to not only make the drones work, but also created his own gigantic fucking suit, created an OS for it to fucking run in all of this that is somehow comparable to Jarvis to a point. Maybe without the actual but yeah,
come on.
Yeah, but he fucking makes this suit somehow with what resources? And how did he get that
Justin Hammer stuff.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing though. It kind of was reminiscent to when Tony Stark builds the first suit. When he's like, I'm doing this under the cover of darkness. Nobody knows I'm building this suit in this cave, right? And yet some other dude had to do the same shit, but like in like there's cameras everywhere, like right under the nose of Justin Hammer. Like what?
Yeah, like where would You walk, like how it's presented, you just see this
and if he's
giant
building his own
warehouse.
Suit, the guy wants an Iron Man suit. And he's like, I have to keep it a secret for he won't get my bird, and I have to keep it secret from him, and I'm building exactly what he wants. No, just be like, hey, I'm building a suit, like the ones you want, but I know how to do it better. What's the problem?
Yeah, like, and that's what really just draws me out, because it's like, he somehow did this, and created his own suit without Justin Hammer finding out. But like, I mean, it took Tony a shit ton of time to come up with the Mark II, right? It's just, it totally drew me out. And then he just shows up and it's like, oh yeah, hey, Rhodey, cross the streams, bro. Like, cool. Like,
Dude, I
fuck.
said that exact thing to VKP when that part. I was like, oh no, these boys don't go cross them streams.
Like, yeah, I mean,
By the way, can we talk about how just horrendous looking Mickey Rourke looks? He looks like like a walking scab. That man is just fucking terrible looking.
He's so gross.
Honestly, like, one of the issues that I have with the whole Justin Hammer scene where he brings in Mickey Rourke is it felt tonally very different. In the beginning of the movie, you know, he's this pissed off son who wants to prove to Stark that, you know, he can make the same tech. And then he goes into Justin Hammer's location and then it's goofball shit. I need my bird. Put the fucking helmet on the guy, the robot. It gets really ridiculous.
I also last one that I liked. The Justin Hammer dance.
Yeah.
Best scene in the movie. End of story.
That was at the point when I was like, you know what? I don't dislike this movie.
And when he tells the chick that's like escorting the podium away, he's like, get that out of here. Like, just loved like Sam Rockwell is awesome. I loved him in Hitchhiker's Guide, like in a lot of other stuff, you know, but he really just made most of the movie enjoyable to a point. Like,
Quick tangent. Have you seen Three Billboards Over Ebbing, Missouri yet?
no, I have not.
He is 10 out of 10 good
outside
in that
Ebbing, Missouri.
What?
I can't wait to
Outside
see
Ebbing,
that.
Missouri,
Whatever.
not over.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but I mean, sure. Anyways,
Actually, turns
DKP.
out that wasn't Sam Rockwell. That was Gary Shanley.
Oh, of course.
As it happens.
played by Billy Crystal.
I don't know if I want to do like favorite scenes and not favorite
That's
scenes
fine.
because like they're kind of in the same camp. Like what worked for the movie was how stupid it was, and I can't think of any scenes like outside of like the hammer dance that I really liked. But I just like to point out some things that I noticed. You know how many people were lynched in this movie? At least 3, and
Go
not
on.
only by the bad guys.
Oh yeah.
Remember Black Widow when Happy ends up like beating that dude's ass or whatever after like 20 minutes, and they turn around. There's a guy that's literally just being lynched, being hung to death, and he's like, "Ah, good job, kid. You straight up fucking brutally. That man's still dying." And then they walk into the bad guy's room immediately after, where there's 2 guys that have been lynched to death, and it's like how horrible, look how brutal he was to these men, right? But it's like
Yeah, then you go to Save It for the Honeymoon. Oh man, yeah, sorry.
What are you talking about?
When so somehow Natasha.
What, are you saying they made like a David
Well,
Carradine
no.
joke?
So when like they've Pepper Potts talks to Tony, and then somehow Natasha comes into the mix and is like, you know, oh my God, you're dying. Like that entire conversation, I just don't know how that actually happened. Like, it doesn't make sense how they all just somehow tuned into the same call to a point. Because there was a camera showing Natasha's face in the room that
Look,
Ivan
I understand
was
your
in.
complaint. I just think like when you think about like the networking side of it, that's not anywhere to really harp down on, you know? You have Mickey Rourke fucking making electrical whips and jump roping with them, and it's like, I'm fine with that. But you can't like, they would have to like VPN from there. Like you can't be on the same network either. Like you can't go doing through that. Like come on.
No. Like I said, the only thing that I accept was the original little frame whip suit that he made. That's the only thing that I actually accept that he made.
How stupid is it that in order to enhance War Machine, you put a regular ass gun on it?
Yeah, whenever he's like, I want all the guns. And there was one that was just like a pistol.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know if this is going to help you out a whole lot, bro.
like
And then the,
yeah.
I guess I'll get into some of the stuff I liked and disliked. I love Justin Hammer. I love his character. The scene that I was about to start talking about was where he's like going into detail, where it's kind of that montage where he's showing off all the different weapons, which generally don't like montages, but him showing off all the
This
different
movie
weapons
did though,
and
say
ending on
again.
that one that he's like,
The
I call it
goatee,
the
but-
ex-wife.
Yeah.
I loved that. I really love the Senate hearing at the very beginning. We talked about that a little bit, but the banter that was going on between everybody was really good. I also appreciated the way that they introduced Don Cheadle, because it was kind of a like, it had like a double thing going on where it was introducing him in the movie, but it was also introducing him to people watching the movie as Rhodes, where he's like, I'm here get over it or something.
Yeah.
There's another line in there, but he's like, I'm here, get over it. Or it's me, I'm here, get over it. Whatever it was. Anyway, I thought that was really good. It was poignant and funny. It really worked for me. That first fight scene that takes place during the Monaco race, where, you know, we've kind of talked shit about it a little bit here and there, but that was like one of my favorite scenes of the movie. Whenever they're fighting and he's got the whips, and then Tony like catches him by the arm and he starts wrapping himself up around it. I thought that scene looked really badass. It like felt badass to watch, and to me, it's like the highlight in terms of fight scenes in the movie.
Well, and the give me the case scene, like.
Yeah, where he gets the case and he
they're
puts it on. Like,
fumbling
that kind of stuff is cheesy now, but that was back then. That was fucking badass. It's like, oh no, that case is the suit. This is sick.
I still think that's badass.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, and this is why I don't. Probably the worst part of the movie to me, weirdly enough, it all revolves around the scene you just said you like, the Monaco fight scene, right? So first off, one of the things the guy, everyone wants the Iron Man suit. And I know we kind of went over this a little bit already, but we're going to go back into it just a tad bit more. And they're like, you can't have the Iron Man suit. But okay, just skip ahead to right after the Monaco fight scene, and they're like, you got Billy Crystal on TV being like, as you see, Tony Stark said it couldn't be done, but it was just done. This guy made the Iron Man suit. No, he didn't. I don't know why everyone's so confused about that. It's clearly not the same thing. Then he's like, you lose, Stark. I made God bleed. Everyone, no, he won. Very much so. Like, he beat him.
Yeah.
Hands down. But
if anything,
like,
you sucker punched him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's like after nothing, you chopped his race car in half with a whip. Right? Like,
he did do
he had
that.
a briefcase.
And his rolls.
Yeah,
his
I
rolls
guess so.
now.
And it's like, you will lose, and everyone's like, man, maybe he is vulnerable, despite the fact that like he just won by a mile. Not only taking the guy's own weapon and basically dragging him in for the fucking finish. Like, how do people confuse not only the fact that guy did not create an Iron Man suit, but the fact that he did, and the fact that Tony Stark lost, or was even really, to the layman watching, hurt or damaged?
Because if he wasn't called out, where would we see the character growth?
See, like that's the part that didn't work for me, though. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't really have much else. Like,
What else for you,
This
Tommy?
is probably like I think this is one of our better episodes as far as energy, and it's fun, but it's a mess and it's disjointed. But I think that's just like a good representation for how this movie was.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to take it one step at a time because like there's so many weird things that like play off each other so far different, like so far apart in the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
As far as things I like, that's pretty much it. The stuff that I dislike, I really disliked the whole scene that took place for his birthday party, where he gets shit-faced drunk and he's in the Iron Man suit. I thought that was a ridiculous thing, and I get it, like he's about to die, so this is kind of like his way of coping with it, and there's all of these feelings associated with it. It didn't seem like, I don't know, the right way to tell that particular story, because the purpose of it is to build up to this point to where Don Cheadle gets the War Machine, the second Iron Man suit on. And just the way that scene was building, where it got to the point to where Don Cheadle was like, I know how to take care of this. I'm going to go downstairs and get this other suit. I know how to stop
Tony from embarrassing himself.
And I'm fine with him being able to wear the
suit.
It makes sense that he should be able to wear the suit for a lot of different reasons. It's not anything with him. I just don't like the story that put him in the suit. I think there is a better way for that character to don that suit. I just didn't think
for Don to don the suit.
It's John Cheadle, remember?
Oh, one other real quick thing.
Yeah.
The scene where he watches the film from his father, right? Totally love that.
Yeah,
I think that was
great.
super well done. And anybody that disagrees that, like,
I disagree.
Exactly, and I know you would. But, so, like, Howard Stark was a genius. Brilliant, right? And he theoretically came up with a new element. And yes, he didn't have the technology in his day to be able to make it. And so it was really dope in the fact that he was like, you are and always will be my greatest creation, dude. Tears every time. Swear to God.
Yeah, that shit was great.
Like,
especially considering what
how-
he thought his relationship with his father was. like his dad has been dead probably longer than Tony was alive with him or has memories of him. So his memory of his father for the last, 20 years has been this like
Cold, calculating.
yes, someone who like didn't care about him and all that. And like for him to get that little nugget, to get that little detail.
But that's the thing I couldn't help but think though, like, hey, look, kid, I always loved you. I just had to treat you like a dick because reasons. Well, he couldn't have done both.
Well,
I mean, I think
you
that's
have
how
to
some
take into
people
account
are, though. Like
what
the way
he
that
was
some
trying to
people raise their
juggle,
kids,
though, right?
they specifically want to raise their kids
I
by
think,
being
like, what
a
I
certain
think would
level
have
of
worked
cold
better
or
for me
calculated.
is like, okay, so the first like part in the like the little movie where he's like, Tony, stop fucking with that, when it's like little kid Tony. If we would have cut to a scene with him being like really nice to Tony, like the camera was still running and him saying something, rather than like, I'm gonna treat you like shit here, like how you remember me, but hey, the only time I'm ever gonna say I love you, which I'm not gonna say here either, but I'm gonna say here. Like that's why it kind of didn't work for me. I think it was really short too, and it was really like it glossed over it super quick.
I think that's fair. I got a lot more out of it. I thought it was. Done very well.
I mean, with all we've seen with Ant-Man, with the additional movies that come in, and I don't know if I'm jumping.
We're not
too
going
far.
deep into those, but you can.
But I'm
gloss
just
over
like
it.
we have gained further insight into Howard Stark.
Yeah.
And all of the things that he was juggling at the time, and so yeah, man, like it's that frustration obviously had to play out somewhere, right?
But dude, like you can't you can't retroactively do that though. Like those didn't exist when this movie came out. And we're trying to critique them for like when they're out,
Okay,
not like in the greater picture.
We had no insight into Howard Stark at any point in between the.
I mean, we're only 3 movies in.
Yeah.
All right, well, I can't wait till we get our fucking Ivan Drago prequel,
so
and then it's
we
like,
have-
in retrospect, that dude should have done all
But
that.
yeah,
You're
we have
right.
nothing. So yeah, actually, we have no basis for anything other than my father was cold and calculating. He never told me he loved me. And then we get that
Yes.
piece. That set who Howard Stark is.
Yeah.
Plain and
You
simple.
think about the first time that Howard Stark is mentioned in the entire films is when he's like, "That's the way Stark Industries does it. That's the way my dad did it. That's the way America does it."
Yeah.
Or whatever. Whenever he's introducing the weapon, like Tony Stark is molded into the man he is based on a lot of the things associated with the relationship with his father.
Yeah.
Like he saw his dad as a badass warmonger.
I'm rolling my eyes. I don't mean to be.
But dude, like
is
you
an
have,
audio thing.
you know that there
Listen,
are people out there
so
that
was
live in
he
this
playing,
world.
Was he playing like the long game to make his son like that by not fucking treating him like being like, oh, really, you're the greatest thing ever, but I'm never gonna treat you like you're worth a shit.
There are
I
people
don't
in this
see
world who say like, I think it's important to like physically like fight your children or physically abuse your children or things like that because it is going to help form you into a better, stronger man. Like those types of people exist. But the person who does that, they probably still love their children. They probably still want their children to know that they love them. But they can also be hard asses and have like, a harder
totally
touch
get
or
that,
approach.
but just
I'm not saying
Stark
that
is
is.
such a
but
dick,
For
he
the
named
movie,
his
it didn't
boy
work
Sue.
for me.
Well,
I don't know.
He named his boy
named
what?
him Tony. Hey,
He
Tony.
named his boy Sue.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
It's the
Johnny
boy
Cash.
named Sue bit where it's like, oh, I named you that because I knew it'd help you get
I
tough
want
in
you to
life
be
and
tough.
etc. I'm playing the long game.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, cool thing seeing that actor though. I mean, I like Mad Men, so I was like, hey.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought about you when I was watching this because I had watched Mad Men by the time I watched Iron Man 2, so I like recognized that as Roger Sterling then. So knowing that you had recently watched Mad Men, talking to DKP by the way, knowing that you recently watched Mad Men, I was like, oh, that's exciting. He's going to recognize that actor.
Yeah. But that's all I got to say about that.
Is there anything else that you guys want to touch on as far as the review goes? Pepper Potts, the villain.
Yeah, I want to talk about Pepper Potts in this, and I want to talk about Natasha Romanoff.
Okay.
My God! Outside of when I think your wife described it as she had yarn hair,
Yeah.
right? Outside of that scene,
As soon as she becomes Black Widow to all of us.
yeah, she became much less hot. You see.
She just looked like
But-
she had a mop on her head.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. But my God,
When she has like the secretary thing going on, the
Yes,
personal
and-
assistant.
dude! Once again, like I'm like in love with Gwyneth Paltrow. Not her in real life. She named her like son Apple or some stupid shit. I'm sure she's terrible, but like the movie versions of Gwyneth Paltrow, like I was
Pepper
rooting
Potts is
for them to kiss, and when they did, like, oh, that scene too. That's probably my favorite scene. There you go. When when John Cheadle was on the fucking roof,
Yeah.
and was like, I was here first.
Hit another roof.
Like that scene really
that was
worked
great.
for me. I thot that was great. And it was awesome. I thought the chemistry was good. I became really turgid watching like that whole happen. Right. The Pepper Potts in this movie is the best Pepper Potts.
The relationship between Tony and Pepper is fucking phenomenal across the entire trilogy.
But the true star of this movie was that desk ornament.
no,
I forgot all about that, and I remember like I loved that thing the first time I saw it. They sell it.
Oh yeah,
but it's
no,
like
it became a
fucking
hot
dollars
commodity in 2010.
But I was like, man, that thing is definitely the star of the show, and it stole the show once again.
I love the whole strawberries thing where he like gets that box of strawberries, trades it for a watch, like a really expensive watch, and she calls him out for not remembering she has an allergy. I thought that was cool.
Yep.
Anything else
Can
that
you
anybody
guys
wants to touch
explain
on?
to me one thing.
Yes, please.
Why doesn't Tony like being handed things?
I don't know. I
there are
just think it's a
multiple
quirky
points in
little
that
unique
movie,
thing.
They go and show that scene, and there's no payoff or no explanation as
So
to
it's
why.
like the bird bit,
I think
except
it's just
that, like,
a personality
that was
quirk.
funnier than the I want my bird, which never has a payoff. That kind of just pays off itself, just him being weird.
Well, and
I know it's a
I would say
cultural thing.
that also, like, and it's not that it is only in that movie. Like, it continued in the Avengers. When Phil Coulson shows up, like, I do like being handed stuff. Like, it's not like it.
Phil Coulson was way more of a dick in this one than normal too, though.
Oh well, he was also dealing with the.
Yeah, don't go into that yet.
Yep.
We talk about that stuff later.
But normally he's always like, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
Which was taken by a man appropriately named Happy in this movie.
We didn't see him previously.
He was
canonically, right?
He was
He's in Iron Man 1. And he wears his dad's
Right.
suit.
Okay, yeah, because strategic homeland intervention and logistics division.
Yeah.
That's a really long name. Yeah, we're working on it. Got it. Yep. Okay. Sorry.
But that is officially all I got. I'm not.
No, you're good.
I'm sure I could pick little pieces out and talk about it for hours. But no, we gotta. Those are all the big points.
Anything else, Idify, that you want to touch on in terms of the villain or Pepper Potts or what you liked or didn't like or anything like that? The humor.
Scarlett Johansson was probably at her hottest in this movie, and I've seen a couple movies recently with her, and wow, she was phenomenal in this one.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just like I said, just the way she looked, fucking. This was the most that I've ever thought she was the most attractive in. I did like Sam Rockwell. His performance, his acting, but the thing is, he's good in almost everything he does.
Yeah,
So
Sam
it just-
Rockmore was great in this one.
Right.
One thing I did notice though was at the end when he's like, "You haven't seen the last of me." I think we have though. Like that was weird.
Maybe he'll show up in Avengers.
Maybe.
Infinity War specifically.
Yeah.
That's about it for the most part.
I do want to touch one thing real quick. It really bothers
Can
me.
you let go of my leg, please?
It really bothers me when Tony's like, if you knew that you were about, or if this was your last birthday, what would you do? And she's like, I would do whatever I wanted with whoever I wanted. And she says some other stupid thing.
Yeah,
like that really bothered me that they like played her up to be this like, which granted, I know that Black Widows are that is the Black Widow shtick, but
then she just walks out.
yeah, but it's like that's how she treats her targets. And Tony is not really a target for her in this.
Yeah, he is.
No,
I
her
don't know,
job is
man.
to like keep an eye on him.
Treats her targets. She literally hung a guy.
Those are more in line with her targets. But like her playing the whole sexy, like, I would do whatever I want with whoever I want.
See you later. No way, bitch. I'm out of here.
I don't know. I just, like, I get it. They were trying to figure out her character and they hadn't quite established it. But her character, the character arc that she has throughout the MCU, this particular scene just like didn't click for me.
That scene, yeah, I agree with you.
All right, so I think we're pretty good on the reviews. Let's go ahead and rate these movies out of 10. Elizabeth, sorry to break the show. Can you grab that notebook with that blue pen that's on top of that shelf?
Yeah, I need to remember what I scored the other ones to score this one appropriately.
So yeah, at the end of each one, we score it out of 10 on a 100-point scale. What that means is like a 7.8, things like that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
One last tidbit. I hated the fact that in the first one, Obadiah makes a suit. So our villain,
That's Jim Bridges' character, right?
yes, Jeff Bridges' character, Obadiah Stane. And yeah, so villain makes a big suit, and then we get this next one. Villain's in a big suit, but now we have two Iron Mans. Like,
just
what
a
the
copy
fuck?
paste.
And then
Yeah.
you got you. It was fucking I agree. Like, but that was the thing I said about the Thor movie. Or I'm sorry, the Hulk movie. Why I don't want a standalone Hulk, because you have to basically create another Hulk for there to be stakes. So like in the first one with Jebediah Stane, and then in this one, it kind of like I don't know how else you can.
Did you call him Jebediah?
Dude, you're fucking killing me with this shit.
What?
Sam Rockmore, Jebediah Stane, you're killing me.
So, like, you can't really help but do the same, you know? Like, Thor always fights gods. You know?
Yeah. So, Peb is in the chat, so I want to go ahead and throw his score out there. 6.4. DKP, throw it at me.
What did I score the first one?
For Iron Man 1, you put 8.5,
Oh,
and for
fuck.
Incredible Hulk, you put a 5.7.
I'm gonna give this one an 8.
Okay.
I like you said,
It's weird. Didn't you say you liked it better?
I know, but I can't imagine giving this movie like
higher than an
8.5. Yeah.
Taylor?
A 6.
Okay. I thought you liked this movie too.
No, it's not that I don't enjoy it, but if like
Let me ask you this: what would you have rated the first one?
the first one,
First Iron Man, yeah.
first Iron Man would definitely get an 8.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna say, let me look at my other scores real quick. I gave Iron Man a 9.2, and I gave Incredible Hulk a 6.7. I'm gonna go 7.1. 7.1.
Your wife went, ooh.
Elizabeth, you're not allowed in this room anymore while we're recording the show. Okay, yeah. I think we're going to go ahead and move on to Secrets of the Marvel Universe.
What was my score last time for Thor?
Oh, wait, sorry. I forgot about you, Adfi.
You're
For Hulk,
going to score this one against Hulk and not the
you
first
gave it a
Iron
6.
I
And
gave-
Iron Man, you gave a 10.
Okay, so I just want to be sure that this isn't on the same score as Hulk. So this one's a 5. It's just pretty average all through.
Okay. Peb's last score for Hulk was a 6.9. Okay, now we're going to move on to Secrets of the Marvel Universe. Okay, first up, Captain America's shield makes a return, and it gets used to help build this like wire laser thing that he used to make a new element. You
Yep.
guys know what I'm talking about?
I certainly do.
Yeah, miniaturized Hadron Collider.
Nobody knows what
It's
those
made
things
out of
are.
like Home Depot tubes.
It's definitely kind of Home Depot.
Number 2, and I found this really interesting, and it kind of helps the post-credit scene for Incredible Hulk a little bit. This movie takes place the same time as Incredible Hulk, because we see the news report from Culver City, like live, while Tony is like working on something in the background. So this movie, in a timeline,
It'd
runs
been great if he
parallel
looked
to
over and he's
Incredible
like,
Hulk.
man, I'm glad I'm not part of that movie.
But it makes more sense. Remember, for the post-credit scene for Incredible Hulk, one of our issues was the fact that Tony Stark was the one who was going to talk to, what's his fuck?
General Ross.
Yes, General Ross. Thank you. We were like, it's kind of weird that it's Tony Stark, but it makes a little bit more sense.
When we get to the thing later, when he's talks to consultant, I think.
Well, I think it just makes a little bit more sense because Iron Man is more of an acceptance stage of being a part of the Avengers initiative, as opposed to at the end of Iron Man where he was just told about it. And as the end of Iron Man 2, I think he's a little bit more, he's had more interactions with people involved in it, things like that. So at the end of this movie, at the S.H.I.E.L.D. safe house, we see a map. in that map, there are several locations that have a big red circle on them. It's like a map of the entire planet. And some of the places that are circled are New Mexico. Anybody know why New Mexico?
Yeah,
It's because of Thor.
There you go.
Isn't that right?
Scandinavia, like the area around Scandinavia kind of thing, which people are speculating is associated with the Maximoff twins. Now, that's not said or for sure anymore or anywhere, and it might not work in terms of the timeline because obviously that's a storyline that exists within Avengers 2. So it might not be the same. New York is circled for Hulk or Stark Expo or whatever it could
dial
possibly
H
be.
for Hulk, you know what I'm saying?
There's a part in the Atlantic Ocean that's circled, which people have been
That's where
speculating
Aquaman.
is where Atlantis is.
Yeah, it's where Aquaman
No.
lives.
He's DC, bro.
I know.
Oh.
I
Greenland?
wouldn't dare do this podcast if it was that fucking stupid.
Greenland is circled. Greenland
Yeah.
is circled, which people are speculating is where Captain America's frozen. Somewhere around there.
You know what question I want to know? Maybe our fact check can help us out with this, and this is a serious question too. When Rhodey puts in his password to get into Tony Stark's basement, a picture of an old white guy pops up. Why is that?
Dude, I don't even know what you're talking about. That's not in any of our secrets of the Marvel universe. And then finally you see a portion of Africa circled. Anybody know what Africa is? Wakanda, thank you very much. Next up, Nick Fury, during the scene when they're at the diner, he says, yeah, he's like giving Tony shit. He's like, I have bigger issues to deal with in the Southwest region, which of course the Southwest would encompass New Mexico, which is, again, us building up towards the whole Thor thing. And then Agent Coulson tells Tony that he's been reassigned to Mexico because, Agent Coulson has a babysitter role in this movie.
Land of Enchantment.
What?
Land of Enchantment.
The Land of Enchantment.
That's
yes.
what they say.
Peb was saying the submariner was
Submariner. Yes.
Yeah, Namor.
Nemo, yeah.
So
Named after Captain Nemo.
he gets there's one point where Tony gets a box of Howard Stark's things, and if you freeze throughout the things he gets, one of the things he gets is an issue of Captain America, like the comic book. And there's also a map of Antarctica, which could imply that was when Howard Stark, because remember, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but Howard Stark is looking for Captain America. And it would make sense that he would have a map of Antarctica. There's also a blueprint and all of his stuff of the arc reactor. And in the corner of that blueprint, you can see what looks like a cube or possibly the Tesseract. Because obviously, Howard Stark is very familiar with the Tesseract based on events that happen later. And then finally, this is something that was confirmed in the last couple of months, which is that Spider-Man is in this movie. There is a scene where, I guess it's specifically
You're
Peter
shitting
Parker.
me.
There is a scene, and it has been confirmed by Kevin Feige and Tom Holland.
I think I know what you're talking about.
There's a scene where there's a little boy at the Stark Expo, because the Stark Expo takes
my
place in
wife lied to me
Queens,
then.
where there's a little boy with an Iron Man helmet on, and a giant robot lands in front of him, and then Iron Man stops him from getting hurt.
Yeah,
And so
Victoria.
thanks, kid.
Victoria said
Yeah.
when we watched it, she was like, "That's Spider-Man." And I was like, "What, really?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just fucking around."
It absolutely is.
Clearly she
and it has
had to have
been
heard that
confirmed
somewhere.
by Kevin Feige and Tom Holland
I mean,
that is Peter Parker. It would make sense. He's a science kid. It's in Queens.
you could that sounds like some afterthought shit where they're like,
I mean,
"Hey, is that Spider-Man?" Like, sure.
it could have been.
No, no, that's Billy Crystal. Like, of course it's
But
Spider-Man.
to be honest, I think a lot of this cinematic universe is built that way, where it's just they put something in and then
oh yeah. I mean,
it just happens to perfectly fit. What are you looking?
oh
at?
yeah, it's not a white guy.
No, not at all.
It fucking dude like the
Go back
the
to
white,
what you guys are
white
talking about.
background.
You're
So-
talking on a podcast without.
Yeah,
referencing.
so DKP said that his picture when he goes into Tony's, lab, that it was a white guy. It is in fact not
but
a
the
white guy.
reflection in the white background made it look like
Is
a,
it
like
Terrence
a
Howard?
old white
No,
guy with
it's
white
Don
hair.
Cheadle.
yeah.
All right, never mind.
And that's it for our Easter eggs. Any comments or thoughts on any of those?
Yeah, so that kid at the Stark Expo was supposed to be Spider-Man?
Yes.
Allegedly.
If you Google it real quick, you'll see that's how I got confirmation of it, because I'd heard it and then I Googled it and then I found an article where Tom Holland is talking to the press and he's like, yeah, just 20 minutes ago I got out of a meeting with Kevin Feige and he said that is in fact Peter Parker.
that's awesome.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
I asked him in a closed meeting, is that me? And he went, yeah, sure. So I've confirmed.
Just go read the fucking article.
No.
I'm just telling you. I'm telling you what people said.
I don't doubt that Marvel leaves little hidden Easter eggs for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Next up, we're moving on to our next segment. Our friend Stanley. Stanley's cameo.
Without
Anybody
question,
got it?
the most subtle cameo.
This one was so short. It was like it didn't even seem like a full second.
No, they were like, "Is that Larry King?" And it was Stan Lee dressed up like Larry King, no lines, for like a quarter of a second, which I thought it was brilliantly done.
Well, I mean, Iron Man 1, it was, he was Hugh Hefner, and I mean, that was short. He didn't say anything. He just turned around and looked confused.
Yeah, but like the way that like the camera work was done on this one, it's like you're supposed to be seeing through Iron Man's vision or whatever, and it was like very shaky.
Yeah,
like it was way. If you weren't paying attention, like you could have been like, yeah, I guess that was Larry King.
I was thinking the same thing.
I was watching.
No,
for
it was actually Larry David.
Oh yeah. In fact, once Stan Lee dies, they should just start having Larry David cameos.
supposedly he's filmed like dozens and dozens of cameos for movies.
Yeah,
for
that's
the
what I've
next,
heard.
like, several, just so they can have something to insert in,
case.
which I think is cool.
It's gonna
Tony
be
Stank.
a fucking sad
Sorry, I
day
haven't gotten there yet.
when Dan Lee dies, man.
Anything else on our good friend Stanley?
No.
Great
All right,
cameo.
next up, we're going to move on into our last segment before we end the show. The post-credits, get out your fucking checkbook moment.
Get out your fucking checkbook.
Nailed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, our post-credit scene is Agent Coulson arriving in New Mexico in what looks like a giant, what is it called?
Crater?
Yes, a crater, thank you. A giant crater, and then it zooms in, and it's Thor's hammer, Mjolnir.
Bonjour.
What?
It's Bonjour. The name of the hammer.
Oh, bonjour, okay.
Which is funny. That's actually what I said when I pissed Victoria off. She was like, "It's moldy." I was like, "That's Bonjour." And she's like, "No, it's not." I was like, yeah, "Fucking obviously, come on."
I expected you to say that the hammer was played by Billy Crystal.
No, that's the only person who can lift the hammer, though.
Ah, gotcha. So yeah, what'd you guys think about this scene in terms of setting up stuff for the future?
A little heavy-handed, I think.
I feel like all of the different scenes that are talked about with, gotta go to New Mexico, and there's something in New Mexico, and what's in New Mexico, and oh, it's the fucking hammer.
Like I said, a little
I feel like that
heavy-handed.
was a little. There were too many scenes associated with it. I think if we would have just gotten
Agent
that
Coulson
scene,
should have turned to the camera and been like, "Get it?" Before before it faded
Yeah.
to black.
I mean, I admit, every time I see that, I'm just like, yes.
And honestly, I may feel that way just
you
because
say that, but you don't have to watch Thor next week.
you
so
should.
I'm not saying
I've watched the
yes.
movie multiple times.
You should watch
The original Thor movie.
Yeah. And 2. And
I've only seen Thor 2
What the
once.
fuck is wrong
I'm
with
curious
you?
to go
dude,
back to
I
that.
don't know. I'm like
That's one of the movies I remember being terrible, and I don't think I'm gonna be pleasantly surprised with it. I could be.
No, it's terrible.
I mean, yeah,
But-
but I'm just a huge fan of Marvel, and I like punishing myself apparently. Anyways,
So what'd you think of the Daredevil movie?
Dude, I'm fucking bummed we're not doing that.
oh
we
god,
should do a bonus like Daredevil episode.
I would love to.
That's like obviously this isn't MCU, but let's do it for fun.
it's
uh,
not fun. It's cruel and unusual punishment.
Michael Clark Duncan,
Like
being
Thor.
the one
Yeah.
that rose at the end.
No,
like, have you ever been kissed a wish on a rose, or however that song goes? You know.
I've been.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the post credit scene, but I agree. I thought it was a little heavy handed.
Had they not alluded to it before, with the whole New Mexico bit over and over and over again, which, like I said, once again, in retrospect, you don't know that Thor takes place in New Mexico, but like they were making sure to like really hammer it up. Like, oh, get it? Whoops. Like, yeah, I'll stop now. Heavy handed. I'm done.
Anybody else want to touch on the post credit scene or anything
I think
else?
visually, this was probably the best post-credit scene. Just seeing a huge ass asteroid and then you realize it came from this fucking hammer. Awesome. Great scene.
Crater,
Even though
Crater.
I hate the character.
crater.
We saw an asteroid.
A huge asteroid.
Crater.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, crater.
Anything else before we close this bad boy out?
No,
I think I'm good, man. What a ride this movie was.
It's definitely a ride. I'll agree
What
with
a
that.
ride this podcast was.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
I'm good.
Okay. Shout out to Pebiv, Morning Shark, A Canada, and anybody else who popped in to watch it live.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Much appreciated. All right, so yeah, that's it for this week's Preparation Avengers. Join us next week where we'll be discussing Thor. Don't forget to give us a follow, like, subscribe, etc. on Twitch and YouTube. And our panel, one last time. Danny.
Yep. Well, DKP to most, but
Okay. DKP.
Yeah.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Alex.
Hey now.
And me, Thomas. And don't forget.
Liz on the couch.
Oh, yeah, of course. Liz on the couch. Or Elizabeth.
Hey.
And don't forget,
Sir.
Baskin Robbins.